sorely lacking in this district. Our schools can raise money, our PTAs can raise money, and the board can help them do that.
Thank you.
Definitely. Practically an aside, but actually it reminds me, board members do come to council and PTA meetings. Well, one comes along with the superintendent to each meeting. So that's actually one of the places where the district actually has been pretty good at communicating, is actually making the superintendent available. I think the theory is that the PTA representatives at the council of PTA's meeting will ask the superintendent questions and then bring them back to their locals at their next meeting. And when that works, it's actually one of the things that's working well that can be maybe modeled elsewhere in the district where things aren't.
Thank you. Mr. Diaz, you have 30 seconds to rebut.
And one of those things we seem to agree on, communication, communication, communication. It's hard to rebut something as simple as that. But it's also sad to see how poorly a job we sometimes do on fulfilling our obligations to those to that communication need in our district. So again, I would encourage my fellow board members, if I were elected, if I was a member of the Board of Education, to be as supportive and as responsive to the Council of PTAs, to individual PTAs as possible, to help bolster their programs.
Thank you.
5 minutes.
We have 5 minutes left, so is that including the questions or just closing?
That's just the questions.
Okay.
5 minutes for the questions.
So next question, we talked a lot about the budgetary constraints. So the question is, what areas, if any, of our comprehensive educational program would you actually reduce or eliminate to meet budgetary constraints? Mr. Diaz, you have the floor.
No one from this side of the aisle, without being on the Board of Education, can tell you off the top of their head or with any certainty whatsoever as to what programs should be cut. How do you value one program that is doing something tremendous for one group of students as opposed to one that is doing something tremendous for another? What I have proposed, however, in order to determine where we have waste, where we have duplication of services, is to conduct an independent third-party audit of our district and our board in order to determine in as unbiased a way as possible where there can be a need or where there should be a need to trim the fat. And that is, I think, the most direct way and something that is overdue, something that taxpayers have been calling for on deaf ears for quite some time. A forensic accounting of the Board of Education of the district would help us figure out where our money could best be spent.
So to the extent that the comprehensive educational program includes classes and extracurricular activities and sports, I would say that there's no area of that where I would support cuts without some real data showing that these are classes that are being offered that no one's taking, or that extracurriculars that no one's enrolled in. You know, the comprehensive educational program that's the education. We're not going to support cutting school. We're not going to cut classes or extracurriculars or sports, again, unless it's something that no one's doing. You know, if there's a class that has 0 enrollees or very, very few enrollees, that's certainly worth looking at consolidating, because, you know, and finding something that does a better job of engaging our students and makes them active. Same with extracurriculars, same with athletics. If there's sports that aren't performing anymore, that people aren't wanting to perform, I mean. But no, in general, not cutting to that.
Thank you. Mr. Diaz, you have 30 seconds.
Again, as an attorney, the thing that I bring to the Board of Education is the ability to examine contracts, the ability to look at where we are getting our best bang for our dollar, the ability to line by line determine whether or not a contract is a good contract for this district. In examining those things, in examining the way that we spend our money and how we most effectively spend our money, I think that we can make a real difference in our budget and then determine where the fat needs to be cut.
Thank you. Mr. Alper, 30 seconds.
I agree with a lot of that. I would say that, you know, obviously the board has an attorney available who should be looking at the legal issues line by line as well already. The board does not have a researcher or anybody who I think has really day in, day out experience working with big data sets and seeing what's performing, what's not, where we're getting our money's worth and where we're not, and what's providing value for the taxpayer and what's not.
Thank you. That concludes all of the questions. We will now be hearing closing arguments from both candidates, with Mr. Diaz going first. It is 1 minute and a half.
I like to think of it more as a closing statement than an argument. But I just want to share a personal anecdote. When my daughter was 6 months old, I found out that I needed to have life-saving surgery. And one of the hardest things that I ever did was walk out of the house while my daughter sat in a high chair and wonder whether or not I was going to be back to see her. And I made a promise at that time, and I made a promise to myself and to my family, to my daughter, that I would give her the best possible life that I could give her. And that's translated not only into my daughter, but into the type of work that I do, the type of advocacy that I do, the way that I decided to change my practice of law towards helping people who are voiceless, towards helping people who can't be heard over the noise. That is why I am running for the Board of Education. I want to continue my advocacy for you, for your family. I want to let you know that although I may not be a political person, although I may not be your average politician, I'm a dad, I'm a father, I'm somebody who has stood up for parents, for teachers, has been on the front lines advocating for change in our district for going on 2 years now. I'm somebody who you can trust will continue the fight every single day for our families and for our students. And I hope that by doing that, I have earned your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
So, all in all, I have to say, I'm more of a public listener than a public speaker. I look down and read, I talk too fast. I thank you for your patience with these things. But I'm a really good listener, I think at least. Ask any of my friends, ask any of my Gregory teacher friends who I talk to nearly every day, before, during, and after the contract was settled. All the work between the meetings, the research, the bringing people together, the finding the solutions, that's all completely in my wheelhouse. It's what I do every day. My data analysis background, my involvement in our schools and in the community, it's all given me this unique set of skills. It's given me this ability to bring people together in ways that I just don't think we have right now on the board and that we desperately need. It's also earned me the support of people all across our community. I want to make sure we're committed to all of our children, gifted in honors, special education, and all the kids in the middle. I want to make sure we're focusing on all of our community, parents, teachers, and children across all 12 of our schools, as well as those without kids in our schools and our seniors. I want to make sure we're dedicated to our future, providing transparent leadership for the years ahead and finding ways to reduce our tax burden. All in all, I'm a hard worker with a history of stepping up when needed, of working to build consensus, and of providing data-based solutions that work. And I hope you'll elect me to serve on our school board. I'm asking for your vote tonight because I believe I can do the most to help West Orange. Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes this evening's event. You've heard all of the candidates. You've heard what they have to say. And I just wanted to give a few thank yous to, first, the West Orange Council of PTAs. Shameless plug here, the Newark Debate Academy, the organization that I work for, as well as the Rutgers University Newark Debate Team. And most importantly, I want to give you all a thank you for coming and to remind you what I said earlier, that the time for you to speak is at the voting box. So if there's anything that you heard here that might have nudged you one way or another, or if you feel as though you were informed after leaving here today, to please make your voices heard at the voting box. You had two great candidates ask you for their votes. Now it's your turn to respond. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I just want to take a moment to thank our wonderful volunteers, Cheryl Raymond, Olivia Raymond, Jennifer Tunnicliffe, Kevin Brady, and Addison Brazola. And I hope you guys go out and vote November 7th with your heart. And thanks for making tonight's event possible.